was my friend Shlomo Katz. I forgot to turn on the video before. Boi v'shalom. Come in peace. That's actually the whole shir we're going to talk about today. The rest of it is Perushim. I mean, that's the key. Boi v'shalom. Come in peace. Shabbos Malchus, Sabbath Creed. We're learning the Netivot Shalom. Second volume, volume Beit, page Ayin Vav 76. Shabbos hi shalma de ilui v'satoi. Shabbos is peace in the above worlds and the below worlds. And seriously, I played that song because that encapsulates what this shir is about. Shabbos Shalom, a Shabbos of peace. And not just peace on Shabbos, but peace in the whole world. And Netivot Shalom is going to be talking about how that happens and what peace really means. Shalom, what Shalom really means. So let's look at the words. Isa b'Zohar HaKodesh. It says in the Holy Zohar, Toch Chazi, come and see. Leis alma kiyum ela al shalom. The world cannot exist except through peace. Ki bara Kadosh Baruch Hu alma, when Hashem, kad bara Kadosh Baruch Hu alma, when Hashem created the world, lo yochel la'adkimna ad asa v'shara aleo shalom. The world would not exist, could not exist, until Hashem put into the world the concept of shalom. Umayhu, what is that? What is shalom? Shabbos. Shabbos is shalom. Di shalma de alai v'satoy. On Shabbos, there is peace in the upper and the lower worlds, the heavens and where we are. And the beautiful thing is, it doesn't say it here, but we've talked about it before, we all have the ability to reach into that inner peace, into that feeling of total, what's the word I'm looking for? Total being enveloped by the peace of Shabbos, like you're covered with a blanket of peace. You're able to reach that on a level on Shabbos. Odisa b'Zohar HaKodesh, the Zohar HaKodesh also says, Talmud Chacham, how does a Talmud Chacham on Erev Shabbos, how does he get to the point of being ready to be Makadesh, to make Shabbos holy, to receive the holy Shabbos? And he says, Sukkah Shalom, Sharaya, Vis Parisis Ba'alma. Shabbos begins, and it's like a complete sukkah of peace. As we look at the sukkah is one of the mitzvahs where we do with our entire body. There's only 3 such mitzvahs that you do with your entire body. Anybody know what the others are?
Mikvah.
Mikvah is the second one. What's another one?
Yishuv
Eretz Yisrael. Living in Eretz Yisrael. Wherever you walk, you're doing a mitzvah. You're covered with Kedusha, you're doing a mitzvah. Good. So on Shabbos, sukkah of peace covers the whole world. Man sukkah shalom doshabasa. What does it mean, a sukkah of peace? A sukkah of peace is Shabbos. Adkan. For this reason, Omrim b'Shabbos Kodesh, we say in Shabbos, Friday night, just before the Shemona Esrei, Ufros aleinu sukkah shalomecha, cover us with your sukkah of peace. V'chosmin, and we end the blessing, Hapore sukkah shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Blessed is he who covers all of us and all of Am Yisrael, the people of Israel, with the sukkah of peace. Kiyaz Hazman, that's the time, meaning Shabbos, Friday night, when Shabbos begins. Asher Sukkah Shalom is praises ba'alma, when the Sukkah of peace covers the entire world. Uvapriates Chadash, and this Sefer, which I think is by Rabbi Chaim Vital, a student of the Arizal, Katuv, it's written, Sheka'asher Yehudi ba leveso, when a Jew comes into his house, B'leil Shabbos Kodesh, on the night of Shabbos, Yomar, what does he say? Shabbos Shalom Uvoirach. Shabbos Shalom Uvoirach. Shabbos of peace and blessing. And some people have the custom, before they bless their children, before you get to the blessing, you say actually the words, Shabbos Shalom Uvoirach. Shabbos of peace and blessing. It's a Shabbos in which you have the opportunity, you have the special power of being blessed and of blessing. It's a two-way street. He's going to talk about a little bit later, but you have that power. So you start by saying Shabbos Shalom Uvoirach. The Chain also Gam Amirat Shalom Aleichem. We sing the song. We get home from shul. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be unto you. B'chulu and so on. Yesod Kulo Ala Shalom. Everything that we do, all of the things that we do, the rituals that we do on Friday night during the davening at home is all based on a foundation of Shalom, of peace. So now he asks, V'yesh levayer, ma kesher hamiyuchad bein Shabbos v'Shalom. What is this unique connection between Shabbos and peace, between Shabbos and Shalom? Dehine, hamusag Shalom, einu inyan shalile gereda. The word, when we talk, the concept of Shalom doesn't mean something that is negative to something else or is opposed to something else. It's not that, okay, you have Shalom, on the other hand you have Milchama, you have war. That's not what Shalom is. Shalom is not something that stands as opposed to war. It's not opposed to anything. Shalom stands on its own. Shalom stands on its own. And this is the sukkah that Hashem is covering us with. In modern vernacular, we talk about Shalom as meaning we have peace and not war. But the Shalom of Shabbos is more than that. It's a higher level than that.
Can I say
Absolutely.
one thing? So I figured this is a common thing that everyone knows, that Shalom, the root of Shalom is wholeness, to be whole, to be complete. Shalem. Right. So it's this idea that being complete, that's what brings you peace, being whole. So it would make sense that it's not about opposing things being what would be opposing this. It's when everything is complete and one. Shalem is, right?
Shalem, right. Which then, taking that a little bit farther,
Sure, if you're broken, it's hard to.
You don't have peace
It's hard to find peace when you're broken. And,
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Beautiful.
and Shalem is the way, if you want to be whole as a Jew, come into Shabbos. That makes you whole.
Right.
And the Chazal,
Step out of
leave your luggage behind and come into Shabbos,
Right.
is like to say.
the broken there and
Yeah.
be whole
Yeah.
here in this
Incredible.
one. I mean, oneness is the idea. Shalom.
It's great to
Good.
strive for, boy.
Chazal tell us, this is not in here, but somewhere. Chazal tell us that how does a person achieve the aspect of Shalem, of being complete? And Chazal says there's three things you have to do. You have to be Shalem im Chaveirav, that's not the exact word they use, but Shalem im Briot, in Bria. You have to be complete, perfect with other people. In other words, you have to not be sitting in judgment of people. You have to be not thinking that you're better than somebody else. You have to love people. The pasuk v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, you should love your friend as yourself, has a lot of different meanings. But think when you do something wrong, as Rav Shlomo Carlebach used to say, if you've done a bad thing during the day, at the end of the day, are you going to deny yourself dessert, or are you going to forgive yourself for it? So the same thing. Don't treat your friend harsher than you would yourself. So that's one thing. Being shalom with your friend, with the living people around you. The next is being shalom im boro. Being shalom im boro, being complete with Ribono Shalom. Being complete with Hashem. Complete with Hashem, with the creator of the world. So that you are on a track. You are on a track to fulfill what Hashem has asked you to do. And of course we have the famous story, and I've repeated it many times, where Moshe Feinstein walked into a beginning class where they were just learning Gemara. And they used to start kids studying Gemara with Masechet Bava Metzia. Bava Metzia is a Masechet, a tractate that deals with the laws of the civil laws. It starts out, if two people see a garment laying in the road, and they both grab hold of it, each one says, "This is mine." The other one says, "This is mine." How do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? And it goes on. Every aspect of civil law is discussed. Well, part of not every aspect. There's two other bavas that also go into civil law, but Bava Metzia discusses many aspects of civil law. So what Rav Moshe said to the children when he asked them, "Why do you start the Gemara here?" He says, because you cannot have a relationship bein adam lamakom, between yourself and God, until you have a relationship bein adam lachaveru, until you have a relationship between yourself and your friend. Right? Some people unfortunately think that to be a good Jew is it doesn't matter what you do to everybody else around you, it's what you yourself do. I'm in my own place, I'm doing all the mitzvahs, right? Not doing it. Not the case. Unless you love your friends, unless you bring them into your circle, unless you stop judging, unless you have a relationship with creation, you can't be whole. The third aspect, which is very important also, is shalem al atzmo. You have to be perfect with yourself. You have to get your own individual house within in order. Those are the three things that you need to be shalem. Shabbos will help you with all that, because Shabbos is shalom is complete. Now, where are we? Okay, so Karen, you're right. It's not, I point out, it's not just that this is the opposite of war. It's shalom. It's being complete. And he says, this is different. It's not just the opposite of fighting and disputing. That's what is meant when it says Hashem will make peace in the higher realms, and then He'll make peace for us. Milosha Zohar Kodesh, and the Zohar Kodesh says Shabbat Di'ihu Shalmo De'aluiv Satori. That's the title of our piece of learning today. Shabbos is the completion and the shalom of the world above and the world below. Shahari b'mromim lo shayich inyan machlokas klal. What does this mean? In the higher worlds, the world of angels, there's no machlokas, there's no disputes. The angels do what Hashem wants them to do. They don't have free choice. They're not arguing with Hashem, should I do this mitzvah, should I do this mitzvah? They're not arguing with each other, let me do this. No, they each have their job and they do their job. There's no machlokas. What does it mean? He says, Ela shalom hi madrega chayovet ilayt. Shalom is a higher level, that has to be achieved. Kedemashma miloshen akasuv. As we learn from the sentence in the Torah that reads, and it's part of the Birchas Kohanim that we read this past week in Parsha Balotcha. Parsha Naso. This is Parsha Balotcha this week. In Parsha Naso we read about the Birchas Kohanim. One of the brachas is Yisu Hashem Ponav Eilecha. Hashem shall raise His face to you, His countenance to you. Vayasem Lecha Shalom, and shall give you peace. That's the blessing that the Kohanim give us. That's the blessing that's in the Torah. V'chein b'nusach habracha. Also in the way that the bracha is said at the end of the Shemona Esrei. What do we say? The last bracha in the Shemona Esrei. Hamavorech esamu Yisrael b'shalom. We bless you who blesses your people Israel with peace. V'hi kiyum ha'olam. Kulo. And this is the way, by virtue of this blessing of peace, this is the way the world continues to exist. Kedesa b'medrash, as it says in the Medrash, al pasuk hinani nosein lo es brisi shalom. With Pinchas, after Pinchas avenged Hashem's name, you would think that a person like that who committed an act of murder, wasn't an act of murder, an act of killing somebody, how can that be a person who has a covenant of peace? Yet Hashem gave Pinchas the covenant of peace. He says, Gadol Hashem shnitan lePinchas. He says, the peace that was given to Pinchas is great. She'ein ha'olam mitnahag el b'shalom, because the world cannot exist without shalom. VaTorah kulo shalom. The whole Torah is shalom. How do we know that? Shinemar, it says, Deracheha darchei noam, your ways, your pathways, your ways are ways of peace, of pleasantness, ways of pleasantness. Unesivoseha shalom, and the paths that you take are ways of peace. That's what Torah is. And if you think about that sentence, Deracheha darchei noam, your paths are ways of pleasantness. Netivot Shalom, your places you walk are peace. That in itself, that sentence, Shalom, should give you an idea how you have to deal with Torah and how you have to present Torah and how you have to learn Torah and how you have to deal with somebody who you think is not following Torah. Somebody who is, as they say, off the derech. Off the derech. What's off? I don't know what that means. I know what people think it means, but I don't know what that means. Because all the ways are ways of pleasantness. And if you want to get somebody back on what you think is the derech, do it with pleasantness. Not with yelling. Not with putting somebody down. Not with making fun of them. Not with ostracizing them. Not with putting them in chayrim. Not with doing anything to isolate them, but rather our job is we're on a path of peace. We're on a path of peace and Torah. It's one and the same. You can't separate Torah from Shalom. It's another important lesson. Just, as an aside, I throw that in. But it's important. V'im bo adam min haderech, shvalim lo shalom. When somebody comes after being on a journey, what do we say? Shalom aleichem. He doesn't say this here, but based on what I just said, you can also look at that and say, V'im adam ba min haderech. If somebody has gone off the derech, he comes after coming off the derech, or he's off the derech, shvalim lo shalom. Give him shalom. Welcome him. Welcome him. Treat him as a Jew. Treat him as a holy neshama. Because in the bottom analysis, all of the neshamas that we have, all of our souls, come from the Kisei HaKavod, underneath the throne of glory. So every single neshama is holy. Every single one is holy. It comes from God Himself. And what happens, unfortunately, is sometimes when the neshama comes down to this world, it gets caked so badly with mud that it's hard for it to shine through. So our job as Jews is to help remove that mud in a nice, easy way. That's an aside, that's not what he says. V'chein, similarly, Shachris, Shualim Lo Shalom, and Shachris, the morning, the first davening of Shabbos, we also ask about Shalom. Uve'emesh kach Shualim B'Shalom V'chulu, and we're always asking and talking about Shalom. Hatfila Chotmin B'Shalom. The tefillah, prayer, Shemon Esrei, ends in Shalom. When we finish the Shemon Esrei, besides Hamavorech Hasam Yisrael B'Shalom, which we said, there's another prayer, L'kain Netzor L'Shoni Meira, Hashem, keep my voice, my mouth from speaking evil. And it ends by taking 3 steps back. And you take 3 steps back, and that's where we say, Oseh Shalom Bimromo. He who brings Shalom in the higher spheres, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, you should bring Shalom to us, V'al Kol Yisrael, to all of Israel. B'imru Amen. That's the last brucha of the Shemon Esrei. It's the last thing of Shemon Esrei. It's not considered one of the bruchas of the Shemon Esrei. Hamavorech is Sam Yisrael B'Shalom is the last brucha, but the last prayer that you're asking at the end as you're stepping back is for peace. And he says, B'berchas Kohanim Chosmim B'Shalom, as we said a minute ago, the blessing of the Kohanim ends in peace. Amar Reb Shimon ben Chalafta. Reb Shimon ben Chalafta says, Ein kli machzik baracha. There is no vessel that can hold a blessing, ela shalom, but shalom. And looking at that based on what Karen said a minute ago, if you're not shalem, you're not a complete vessel. How are you able to hold the beauty that Hashem gives us, the reward that Hashem gives us every moment? You need this blessing of Shalom to receive the bracha. Shinemar, it says, Hashem owes li'amo yitain. Hashem gives his people strength. Hashem yavorech asamo Hashem, and he blesses his people with peace. And he goes on, he says, Umahusa shel madrega chayavat v'ladzu. The substance of this creation is on this high level. The shalom hainu shlemus kol habriya v'achtusa. Shalom is the completion, is the unity of all creation. V'hu ayidei zeh. Because of this, shekoach hapoel b'nifal, koach haborionim yisporach, the power of the active into the inactive is the power of Hashem, hamahuves kol hayikum, who creates everything, who mechayes kulam, and gives everything life. Ki'im le'ein hapshuta nidmeh Shabriya Morkeves Mehamon Baroim Nifradim. It's interesting that we see that the whole creation was created as separate things. V'chol prat b'shemayim v'aretz, v'chol tzevam, v'chol aburim, everything that was created, Kol echad yechida nifredet latzma. Everything was created by itself. On this day the sun was created. On this day the moon was created. On this day the stars were created. This day man was created. This day the animals were created, and so on. He says, Ach, emes hi. But the truth is, rather than being a bunch of separate creations, shakol echad. They're all really one. Kol habriya, achdut achas. All of the creation is one unification. Kamosha Amar, as we say, ain't od milvado. There's nothing besides Hashem. Ain't od milvado, because when we recognize that Malo kol oretz kinyonecha, that the whole world is full of your possessions. Ein od milvado, there's nothing but you, Hashem. Then we recognize that everything is one, created by one Hashem. Uvechal hanivra, all of creation, kiyum, b'toch chiyuso, hanitzot solokai, hamachaya umakaimo, all of the creation comes from the holy sparks of Hashem, where these sparks of Hashem give us life and sustain us. Kamosha Omar, Vatu Machayas Kolam, as we say, Hashem, you keep everything alive, you sustain everything. V'kol habriya mitachtat ke'echad, all of creation is unified like one. Badash Perush, as it says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Say it every day. She'ein hakavona rak shehabori yisbarach shmohu eloka yachid. It's not only the intent that the Creator is one, ela shehu yisbarach echad ve'ein od milvado. Not only that he's this unique being, but he's one and there's nobody besides him. Shakol batel v'nichlal belukus yisbarach. Everything is nullified next to Hashem, meaning that nothing has any existence without Hashem wanting it to exist. Just like a person has 248 limbs, and 365 sinews is how it's translated. It means different parts of the body, and from those things you also have the number of the mitzvos in the Torah. You have Taryag mitzvos. You have 613 mitzvos. So the 245 and 365. I'm sorry, 248 and 365 total 613. And as a matter of fact, just since it mentioned Shema a moment ago, every letter, every word of Shema has an effect on a certain part of your body. So you should say Shema with great kavanah, great intent. Has a healing effect on every part of your body. Yadayim, raglayim, b'chadoma, hands, feet, and so on. 648. And the mitzvahs, of course, are divided into 248 negative commandments and 365 positive commandments. Thou shalt not do and thou shalt do. It says, every limb is not a separate thing by itself. It's the power of your neshama, of your soul, et kol haguf, that sustains the entire body. Mayachdut et kol ha'evorim v'agidim, to unify all of the bodily parts, the evorim, the limbs, the gidim, the sinews, la'achdut v'hetiva achat, to unify them together for one good thing. And we know that, if one part of your body hurts, it's going to affect all parts of your body. That's generally known. Same thing. So we have to have all of our evarim to serve Hashem. Kamokein b'chlalot habriya. So too in the aspect of creation, koach haboris borech hamachayas kulam, the power of Hashem to sustain all of us. Me'achad es kol habriya, brings together all of creation la'achdut achas, to one unified thing. But tachlis u'achdus, in the aspect of unity. Barak l'man tehei ba'olam b'tzios habachira bein tov l'ra, only because Hashem created the world with give each one of us bechira, free choice, to determine whether we want to do bad or good. Only because of that, Bora Kadosh Baruch Hu is kochot hatuma v'hasitra achar. Only because of that did Hashem create the power of impurity, the power of Sitra Achar is the other side, meaning the side that makes you want to do things that aren't what Hashem wants from you. Alma de Pruda, a world of separation where people are separated from each other. Shem bechinat nifradim melokusa yisbarach shmo, because they're not only separated from each other, but they're separated from Hashem. Ume'alimam es achdus habriya, and they do away with the unity of creation because of their own separation. Umikoko suela, and through these powers that they're using the wrong way, separation. Novat motziyosum shall call inyane avodah zarah. Out of this comes all of the aspects of idol worship. And if you think you don't worship idols today, let's look inside of ourselves and see what our priorities are. Some people's priorities, nobody in this class, but some people's priorities are money over self, money over midos, different things. You have to look at the priorities, because it's when you take a path which is not good, which is contrary to what Hashem wants, that leads you directly to avodah zarah, either literally or figuratively. Af she'ein od milvado, because you're not recognizing that there's nobody in this world but Hashem. V'zeh gam hashoris l'kol inyan machlokas. This is the root of every dispute, of every fight. Shem hepach ha'achdus. Any time you're fighting with somebody, you are just doing the opposite of being unified with that person, of bringing Hashem's world into a period of achdus. Achein lati lavo. Therefore, in the future, Beit asher she'olam yitukon b'mlechet Shaddai, when all the world has finally done their final tikkun and corrected all these bad things, and we're only working for Hashem, for the Almighty, Yisbatlu kochas sitra achar, then the power of those that want us to, that which wants us to do negative things will be gone, will be eradicated. Kol kamomer hakasuv, as the pasuk says, that ruach hatuma aver min haaretz, the spirit of uncleanliness, of impurity, will leave the world. Vaz yeh, and then will be Hashem will then be lemelech al kol haaretz, king of all the earth. Bayom hahu, on that day, yeh Hashem echad ushmo echad. Hashem will be one and His name one. It's the way we finish every davening at the end of Oleinu. All right, that's what we're praying for, that we should get to that point where Hashem's name is recognized throughout the world, where we don't live in a world where you're afraid to mention Hashem, where you're afraid to mention God, otherwise people think you're kooky. Whether you're afraid to look at what's happening in the world, and you're afraid to say that, well, maybe God had, just maybe God has a hand in this. Just perhaps,
But the people like ISIS and stuff also recognize God.
They recognized a perverted version of God. That's the problem. That's the problem, because they have taken what originally started out as a Torah. They've taken their Shiva mitzvahs b'nei Noach, the 7 mitzvahs that they had to do, and they got warped in the Quran, and it became further warped by some of the interpretations of the Quran. And what happens with ISIS, unfortunately, is you don't have any Quran, if there is such a word, Quranic scholars out there chopping off people's heads. You have a bunch of people who are basically ignorant of even what their own religion stands for, and thinking that they have to do something. So there are things that are done in the name of God, but it's not the God we're talking about. We're not talking about Ein Od Milvado, because God is a merciful God. God does not want us killing people. To kill anybody required so much cross-examination, warnings by witnesses beforehand, that they said that if a Sanhedrin put one person to death in 70 years, it was called a bloody Sanhedrin. It just didn't happen. Because in order to kill somebody, put somebody to death for a capital offense, before he did the offense, you have to have two people warning him and saying, if you go ahead and do this, you're going to be punished, and your punishment is going to be death in this manner, depending on what he was doing. And then he goes ahead and does it. And then they take him before the court, and the witnesses appear. And before the witnesses testify, the court asks the witnesses, says, do you know that when you testify, if you testify against somebody who, and they are condemned to death because of you, you know that the Torah teaches us that whoever destroys one soul is like he destroyed the whole world. So they give all these admonitions, and we're going to be asking you things. And if you are lying, then your punishment is going to, you're going to be subject to the same punishment that you wanted us to impose on this person. So be very careful in what you're saying. Those were the kinds of things that the court would ask before somebody came before it. So killing was a very, very rare thing. Now you can ask me, wait a minute, but there are lots of instances in the Torah where we have lots of people were killed. The job is to wipe out Amalek. The Egyptians were killed by God in the sea.
Shimshon went down and killed a lot of...
Shimshon killed a lot of Philistine, right. The Torah doesn't tell us not to kill our enemies. Somebody, clearly it's in the Torah, if somebody's out to kill you, you don't have to sit there like a sacrificial lamb, but you should fight back and kill him first.
Here.
Here, there, or everywhere. Right? You have a right to defense. The Torah gives us that right to defense. And the people that were killed in the Torah, the groups of people, were people who wanted our destruction. You had Amalek who wanted our destruction. King Saul lost his kingdom because he let Agag live and continue to father the nation of Amalek. So, but we don't know what Amalek is today. There's all kinds of disputes, and it's hard to say. We individually can't say, oh, this person or this group is Amalek. I mean, some have said anybody who wants to kill the Jews is the modern day Amalek. Well, maybe. Or maybe there's just people who want to kill the Jews and you should kill them first without labeling them as Amalek. Because killing Amalek meant wiping them completely out. Those that want to kill us, you can wipe them out, but you don't have to go beyond that.
Leave their children.
Leave their children, right. And he goes on. When the world does their tikkun and recognizes that everything is one, Bria achtas b'malchus Hashem ve'enod milvado. It's one creation in the kingdom of Hashem, and there's nothing like him, nothing besides him. Vo'esahi gam lo tia yoter shum machlokas. There will no more be any fighting. Ve'yasu kulam aguda achas lasos ritzon chavlei v'shalom. Everybody will bind together, to do Hashem's will with a perfect heart, a shalem heart, a heart of peace. When we have the Arba Minim on Sukkot, talked about Sukkot at the beginning, we have the Arba meaning, the four species, we tie them together. And then we tie three of them together, and then you hold the etrog together. So you have all four bound together. That's Aguda Achat. That's one binding. Aguda Achat is, and we have different Meforshim that talk about what each of these symbols means. The lulav meaning the representing the spinal column, the hadassim representing the eyes, the rovos representing the mouth, the esrog representing the heart. You're tying together all parts of the body, but also representing every kind of Jew. We just went through Pesach not too long ago, and we had the four sons, and we had the good one, the wicked one, the one who doesn't know how to ask, and the simple one, all together. Agud Achas. That's what we need to do as Jews, and that's within our powers. Uvechinat zeh mitgalit b'Shabbos Kodesh. She bechinas olam hatikun. This is all revealed on Shabbos and the Holy Shabbos, which is in the aspect of the world that has been corrected. There's been a tikkun of the world on Shabbos. Ulecheinu bechinas ha'achtus. This is the aspect of unity. Koloshon Zohar Kodesh, as the Zohar Kodesh says, and he quotes, "Kagavno de'inan misyachtin le'ela be'echad." He says, just as they, and he's talking about all of the six sphirot, unite above in oneness. And he goes on to say that also below there will be a unity in oneness. He goes on, he says, "Gavdi mishachtim." Where am I? Mishachtim leil be'echad obhochi yisyachta sata braza di'echad. Braza the Shabbos. He goes into the next. Is the secret of Shabbos. The word braza is secret, but it also means the light. The gematria spells light. It's the same gematria as or, the light of Shabbos. Shabbos Sachtas Braz Diachad. It's when we're all together as one. Karel Shabbos Yachtas is Parshas Mesit Rachab, where we're separating ourselves. We're becoming one and separating ourselves from that which wants us to do wrong. V'chol Shutuni Rogzin, and everybody that's trying to take us off the path, Umare Dedina, or judge us for any harsh things that we may have done, any things we've done wrong. Kulu Arkin. They're all gone. On Shabbos there's no judgment. All these things go away. Muzvatalas high alma, and then because of that, the world of separation is nullified. El hakol shalom. Everything is peace. Umu'uchad, and unity. Vi shalma ale v'tatai. And there's peace above and below. This is what the explanation of what our holy sages have said. That Hashem finished on Shabbos. So when he says Hashem finished, what was missing from the world until that point? And the answer he gives is manucha, rest. Rest was missing. Hamanu, he says, ba'et Shabbos, ba'at Shabbos, ba'at Menucha. When Shabbos comes, rest comes. The l'chura, maya kesher bein chasaron hamenucha, lebriat hayami. What is the connection of Menucha, rest, to the creation of these days? Ve'echa Shabbos hashlemazos. How does Shabbos complete this? He says, it's hinted at this. But Batchila, Habriya, at the beginning of creation, Brias Yom Rishon La'atzma. The first day was created by itself. Brias Yom Sheni La'atzma. Second day of creation was created by itself. Chen Kol Yom V'Yom, every single day. V'hoyta Kol Habriya, in Yonim Nifradim. All of the creation were separate things, separate creations. B'li shleimut achas, without one cohesive force. B'kiven Shabbat Shabbos, and since Shabbos came, Bat Menucha, rest came. Perush Hushlama, the completion, Manisachta, and the unification of Kol Habriya La'achdut Achat, of all the creation into one unity. And through this bringing all of the creation into one unity, into Shabbos, through that aspect, then we have Menucha, we have true rest. You first have the Shalom, you have the Bracha, you want to hold the Bracha of Shabbos, you have to catch it in a vessel of Shalom, and then you have Menucha, which is the result of that. Any questions, comments?
Beautiful teaching.
Thank you.
Okay. Beli Neder, thank you all for being here. Beli Neder next week, 5 o'clock, Tuesday evening.
We have homework, huh?
And Miriam, you're going to be at a wedding of your grandchild,
Oh,
and you should have just much nachas, all the nachas in the world from your children and grandchildren.
and if you could think of Tamar and Joni and Karen and all of this, and Laura and everyone who needs a shidduch.
It's okay, I've also asked the bride for a blessing.
Okay.
For me.
And
Yeah,
you,
just know.
everybody, just daven during the chuppah, that everybody who,
Okay.
Just
the
know-
gates are open at
Yeah.
chuppah,
Yeah.
so.
Just know the gates, as Amy said, the gates are open during a chuppah. Your blessings, your requests are granted. Ask Hashem. Don't be afraid to ask. Just ask. Don't worry about being a nuj. If there's any time you can nuj Hashem, it's during a chuppah. Ask Hashem for what you want. Ask for, first of all, for a blessing for the bride and groom,
Of course.
that they should give nachas to each other, nachas to their families, spread that nachas to the whole world, but then include me in that also.
Okay. I sure will.
Good Shabbos, good Shabbos.
Where-